it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today. So today we are going to get to the super thanks and thanking the people who gave super thanks last week. And actually, because it's already a couple from this week, I'm going to go ahead and include those as well. And the title of the video comes from one of those super thanks. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. First of all, shout out to @Vernon Lee Warren 280 with the $2 super thanks. This is coming from my Allen Iverson tells how MJ will always be the GOAT because of YouTube video. And he says, "Thank you, brother, for another great video. Everything you said was absolutely on point. Love the content. Keep up the great work and greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel." And I'm actually getting ready to drop my first video coming from that series you recommended, the How the Bulls went 6 for 6 in 9 hour series. I'm going to drop a video about the 91 finals. Couple of things that I've noticed rewatching that series was great. And I want to kind of debunk a couple of myths about Jordan beating those 91 Lakers. But I'll probably put that out in the next day or two. But anyway, shout out to @Vernon Lee Warren 280 for the $2 super thanks. Thank you so much. Next up, shout out to @CP-YX4CL with a $30 super thanks. You are so greatly appreciated. And this is coming from my Nikola Jokic get the blame for losing to the Timberwolves video. And says, "Honestly, I think there are some much bigger problems the Denver Nuggets currently have, same as the entire NBA. Of course, the leader should take the blame as expected, but in this case, I think it's more of the attitude of players other than Jokic for not striving for excellence in today's world. Increase their method of scoring / break the rules, and the soft culture as a whole. Both are in some degrees due to the effect of social media. Not to mention the inconsistency of the three-point shot and the referees' foul calls are two of the major concerns that should be identified and fixed throughout this playoff tournament." I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. Again, and I believe it's pretty much right on the money. Like the onus for losing should always fall on the leader. And I don't disagree about the attitudes of the players. And, I think just in general, which is, we talk about this on this channel all the time. It's just the lack of not only the striving for excellence, but I think it's just this kind of complacency once players make it to the NBA. It's like making it to the NBA is the goal rather than making it to the NBA is the beginning of the journey for, greatness, so to speak. Or, putting your best foot forward and, actually establishing a legacy. I feel like most players, once they hit the NBA, it's like, okay, I made it now. I got all this money, and they just don't have that same desire, that same passion to do what players of the past did, and that is, still focus on basketball rather than the money and the fame. But again, like I will say this, like with Jokic, and I like Jokic, but to me, it always falls on the leader in the sense that, if your players aren't, if they aren't pushing, then you as a leader, to me, it's your job to push them in whatever way needs to happen. And again, this is why we always talk about Michael Jordan, and you fanboys love to always bring up, Jordan was an a-hole to his teammates. Well, to me, it's whatever you got to do to get the job done. And if that means being the a-hole to your teammates, then it is what it is. We are here to do a job. We are getting paid to do a job. Like, we are here to win championships. So to me, it still falls on the leader. And again, for those who watch the channel, know I'm a fan of Anthony Edwards, but if and when the Timberwolves lose this series, to me, this falls on Anthony Edwards. He's the leader of the team, and he should get the brunt of the criticism, because he would get the praise if they succeeded. So he should get the brunt of the criticism. But yeah, shout out to @CP-YX4CL. Thank you so much for the $30 super thanks. And like I said, I really don't disagree with what you're saying at all. But and here's another question. It's like, would these players today even be tough enough to withstand a leader like Michael Jordan? So that's a question in itself. It's like, people are so soft today. The way Michael Jordan leads just may not even be possible in today's society, even though it's all about getting the championships. And like I said, to me, a good leader, whether that's Jokic or whoever it is, to me, you have to be willing to make things uncomfortable with your team, so that people are actually putting their best foot forward. And if they're not doing that, then you got to turn up the heat to whatever it has to be. But anyway, thanks so much. Next up, shout out to @QQ810, and this is coming from the Allen Iverson video. Allen Iverson talks about when MJ showed up at the top 75 ceremony. And he just simply gives a $10 super thanks and says, thanks. Thank you so much for your continued support. Greatly appreciate it. And next up, we have @BlackGhost350 with the $5 super thanks. And this is coming from the Fanboy Files. He says, thank you, sir. Hey, fanboys, I hope y'all are okay after this video. The walls are starting to crumble. The uncoachable one is starting to get exposed. Facts. We are definitely, I believe, watching the beginning of what's probably going to be a slow collapse of the 4 and 6 kingdom. But I definitely believe we are watching the beginning of it. And, I'm very curious to see how fast it happens, how fast or how slowly it happens. It really can't happen quick enough. But, is it going to kind of linger on until LeBron actually retires, and then that's when things will kind of speed up? Or, are we just going to kind of see a steady and gradual increase of people expressing their real feelings about LeBron? Again, I saw something where Stephen A. said Kendrick Perkins was having to rethink where he had LeBron in the GOAT debate. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But shout out to @BlackGhost350. Thank you so much for the $5 super thanks. And next up, we have @SnugChamberlain9986, and his comment is what the video is titled. And this is coming from the Allen Iverson video, the one with the talking about when MJ showed up to the top 75. And he says, thanks, great content as usual. Shout out to you and the other content creator truthers. I've got 3 questions I'd like your opinion on. He says, I want to put this 1994 narrative to bed, and which is that this team could take out the Bulls, who were fresh off a title. I saw an interview on Gil's Arena with Vernon Maxwell, who basically said, who was basically a 3-and-D guy at best, but he claimed the Rockets with him on that team whooped the Bulls 7 straight years in the regular season, and who was going to take the Bulls out in the finals if they made it, because nobody could stop the big African, him referring to Hakeem Olajuwon, saying he would kill Purdue, Longley, Cartwright, whoever was at center, and Bulls guards would have to double, which would cause Maxwell to be open from 3, cutting their you-know-what up from 3, according to him. So what do you think about that statement and possible playoff match? Do you think it may result in a loss, or do you think MJ preserves regardless? Very good question, and I feel like I've kind of talked about this before at some point. But so here's the thing. First of all, he says that they had beaten Chicago 7 straight years in the regular season. That is not true. I definitely know that Chicago beat them in 1992. And so that was just 2 years before the 1994. But here's my thing. I think they did sweep the regular season in 1993. I believe they swept Chicago in the regular season in 1993. And, of course, in 1994, when the Bulls didn't have Michael, they, I believe they swept the regular season also. Now, here's the thing. First of all, I have a few things to say about this. It's not like Chicago hasn't beat teams with big men. And you could argue that, okay, Hakeem Olajuwon is definitely one of the most skilled, if not the most skilled, all-around big man that there has been. If we're talking about offensively and defensively together, you know, the footwork, everything, Hakeem Olajuwon was definitely that guy, was definitely a problem. However, here's the thing about Michael Jordan, and to me, this is really, again, more than anything about Michael Jordan, we can talk about his athleticism. We can talk about, you know, his killer mentality. We can talk about his jumping ability, you know, his mid-range shooting. We can talk about his defense. But what it really all comes down to with Michael Jordan, I believe, is his ability to impose his will on a game is unmatched. And I say this because of this. Recently, I brought this up in a video. I can't remember which video. But I was talking about how in 1998, the Jazz had swept the Bulls in the regular season. I think they played twice. The Jazz won both times. And if I'm not mistaken, somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe also 1998 is when the Jazz beat the Lakers with Shaq. And there was an interview where someone was asking Michael Jordan about that, basically saying, you know, that the Jazz were able to beat the Lakers with Shaq. How is the Bulls going to compete? Also, because the Bulls had got swept in the regular season by the Jazz. And Michael Jordan's response was, I ain't Shaq. I'm not Shaq. And so Michael, and we all know the Bulls, despite Scottie Pippen not being full strength, despite a declining Rodman, and really a declining roster in general, Michael Jordan carried that team in 1998 to a victory over the Utah Jazz, again, who had beat them both times in the regular season. So to me, this just shows, you know, that when it comes to the finals, Michael Jordan is able to dig deep to another level that we have not seen. So again, 1998, the Jazz beat the Bulls both times in the regular season. The Bulls come back, beat them in the finals. Now, here's the thing about 1998. In 1998, the Bulls are the oldest team to ever win the finals. Still, the 1998 Chicago Bulls are the oldest team to ever win the finals. So now, you mean to tell me that in 1998, the oldest version of the Bulls collectively was able to muster up the fortitude to beat the Jazz, who had swept them twice, or who had won both games during the regular season? To me, yeah, the Rockets are not beating the Bulls. I think Michael Jordan's will to dominate. Again, Michael Jordan in the finals, he raises his game to another level. And they've dealt with big men. And so I feel like Michael Jordan would have found some way, somehow, to beat the Rockets. And again, we're talking about Michael Jordan like right there in the middle of his prime athletically. Like, so this is before kind of the decline would have happened in 1994. He still kind of would have been right there at the top of his athleticism. And I don't think I don't think Michael Jordan loses. And then the other thing we have to look at is Michael Jordan hadn't lost in the finals. So my thing is this: why would you bet against someone who has never lost in the finals? That would be a ridiculous bet to me, to say, okay, this guy has not lost in the finals. You know, at that point he was 3-0. You know, it's like, would you take that bet that he was going to lose to the Rockets? I wouldn't take that bet. But anyway, yeah. So that's my thing. I don't think the Bulls are losing to the Rockets in 1994 or 95. You know, if Michael Jordan never retires, I really do believe that it is probable that they would have had 8 straight. Again, just because, like I said, Michael Jordan truly took his game to another level. I feel like he was able to impose his will in a game unlike any other player we've ever seen. But anyway, so he says, if Michael Jordan plays ball with management and Phil stays, hypothetically speaking, and the Bulls do the trade, which they trade Scottie Pippen for a young Tracy McGrady, do you think McGrady gets a ring with MJ? And do you think T-Mac's career goes a different direction? Do you think he would be known as a winner by now? And most importantly, be injury free? What do you think about him possibly being better than Kobe? Because after he was the one guy Kobe couldn't figure out, according to the Mamba. So what do you think? Well, first of all, let me say this. I believe if T-Mac had gone to Chicago, he definitely gets a ring. He definitely gets a ring. Now, you know, if he goes to Chicago, he is definitely second fiddle to Michael Jordan. So I feel like you kind of gotta weigh your options. Do you want to be known as the guy with no championships, or would you want to be known as the second guy and have championships? As far as the injuries, that's kind of hard to say, but I think it's a chance that we would see either less injuries or him being able to deal with those injuries better, simply because all the pressure wouldn't be on him. You know, Michael Jordan is, you know, Jordan takes most of the pressure, as Scottie Pippen found out when Michael Jordan retired, and Scottie Pippen had to be the one to deal with that pressure. You know, he was begging to the camera, pointing at his shoe for Michael Jordan to come back. So yeah, I'm with the Tracy McGrady thing. I think they definitely get a ring with Chicago, and I think Tracy McGrady probably becomes a better defender playing alongside Michael Jordan. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say how far along he would have got in terms of his own personal legacy. But I think it's part of a legacy with Chicago Bulls. For sure, he would have been a champion. If he played with Chicago, I definitely don't think he would have been better than Kobe. I definitely don't think he would have been better than Kobe had he played with Chicago. Again, just because, first of all, you know, again, the type of mentality that Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird had, I don't think that's something, you know, you don't see that often. And to me, Tracy McGrady didn't have that. So to me, no matter what situation he would have wound up in, I don't ever see him getting to the Kobe Bryant level. I mean, you got to think about how hard Kobe worked to get to the level he did. And this is the other thing that I'm going to throw this out here while we're talking about it. Not only how hard Kobe worked to get to where he was, but, you know, if we're all being honest, it's like Kobe has said himself, he said, what you see from me is from Michael Jordan. So it's like Michael Jordan gave Kobe a lot of wisdom about how to approach the game, you know, how to approach working out and these different things. So, you know, but it took Kobe, but Kobe had that desire to want to get that information. So to me, you really got to have that getting the information at all costs. You know, I think about to one of the first games Kobe played against Mike, and he talks about it when he's bending down at half court and asking Mike, how to field the defense. And so Kobe's like on court, right, playing against this guy, but still has the desire for information so much that, he's unafraid to ask him questions right there in the game, right in the middle of competition. And he's not affected by his admiration for Mike. He wants to go at Mike, but he also understands that, hey, if I want to be the best I can be, I need to get this information from him, and I'm going to do that. So, yeah, to me, Kobe, it was a different breed. I don't see Tracy McGrady becoming like Kobe Bryant really under any circumstances, if I'm being honest. I just don't think he has that kind of mentality. And last but not least, you may have touched on this before, but I wanted to get your opinion on the self-proclaimed king, LeBron James' comment when he said, "You have to stomp me out, cut my head off, and bury me 6 feet deep." What do you think that means exactly, and what does that statement mean to you, if nothing? Love to hear your thought on this ridiculousness. I can tell you exactly what that statement means to me. What that statement means to me is, I want you guys to think that I'm just as much of a competitor as Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. That's what that statement was meant to do, I believe. It is meant to convince the spectators, the viewers, the supporters of the NBA that this guy is on the same level of a competitor as Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And to me, all of those kind of statements that LeBron James makes is always, it's really trying to sell a narrative. But again, you don't have to sell something if your game is speaking for itself. I don't know. Again, to me, LeBron James is just so disingenuous with most of what he does. Like, I even did a video early on about how LeBron James screams. And, why it might seem ridiculous, a ridiculous thing to a lot of people is like, oh, man, you making a video about how this guy screams? But, yes, it's like, again, me and my brother was sitting around having a conversation, and I forgot how it even came up. But we got to talking, and that LeBron James screams they don't look natural. They don't look natural. And so we looked it up, and lo and behold, people who scream, it is natural that you have your eyes closed. LeBron James, when he screams, a lot of times his eyes are wide open. That is an unnatural state, meaning that this is a forced action, or this is something that he does to try to convince you of something, but it is not natural. And I'm not the only person who's done this. OD Agony TV did a video about this. So to me, yeah, that whole statement about you got to cut my head off is just some more of that disingenuous talk to try to, stuff that you fanboys believe. I know you fanboys believe everything LeBron James tells you. But yeah, it's just some stuff to try to convince people that he's a hardcore competitor, when all you have to do is look at the tape and you see that is not the case. But shout out to @SnugChamberlain9986. Thank you so much for the $2 super thanks. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for always coming with some great questions to think about. And we're going to go ahead and get these last two in here. This comes from my Nick Wright video, and this one actually has nothing to do with the video or basketball at all. But shout out to @SwanDaily with the $2 super thanks. He says, I know this is a basketball channel, but since you're a musician, I thought I'd ask you your 2 cents about Jay Dilla. He's one of my favorite producers, and he's influenced my beats and so many of my favorite current artists. Yeah, so honestly, back, especially when I was younger producing, I was very much into the South and West Coast sound. So I was very much into Outkast and Organized Noise, very much into the Texas style rap. Whether you're talking about Crime Boss, of course, Scarface and UGK and all those guys like that. And then, you know, the West Coast stuff, Dr. Dre was a heavy influence. It was honestly, was years later, probably I would say maybe in the early 2000s. I can't even remember. It might even be the 2010s when I really kind of started. I actually saw a documentary about Jay Dilla. And when I saw that documentary, I kind of went back and, well, first of all, he had produced a lot of stuff that I didn't even know was him. But when it just got to talking about his method about producing and whatnot, I really, really love Jay Dilla. And what I really like about him, of course, you know, if you're a fan of Jay Dilla, you know this. But to me, he really was able to make the music feel human. You know, even though he was using a drum machine, like they talked about how he programmed his drums and samples and stuff like that. And to me, it really gave me a new way to approach producing at times. You know, that everything didn't always have to be this quantized sound or quantized at all for that matter. It's like just getting that feel where he would do some of his loops or whatnot and not having those rigid kind of beats so that it had more of a, like I said, it had more of a human feel. So yeah, I really like Jay Dilla a lot, but I feel like I became a fan of his after what was his era. But yeah, big fan of Jay Dilla. Shout out to @Swan Daily. Thanks so much for the super thanks. And last but not least, coming from the Nick Wright video again, we have QQ810 with the $10 super thanks. And he simply says thanks. Hey, thank you again. I cannot thank you enough for your continued support of the channel. Again, thank everyone who continue to support my channel, who continue to support all of the channels, who tell the truth and give their honest takes about basketball and anything for that matter. You guys are greatly appreciated. Let me know what you think in the comments about any of the topics today, especially that I'm curious what you guys think about the book with the 94 Rockets have those championships had Jordan never retired. Do you think they would have been able to beat Chicago? But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.